can't hide. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the same. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
All right, Jeremy Weiss here, and I'm excited. This is part of the Top Resource series where we geek out on. It could be apps, software, resources, books, and Alexander has some good ones for us. Before we get to it, I want to introduce Alexander Landa. He's the co-founder and CEO of Akiva Labs, and I'm going to pull up the site in a second, but Akiva's mission is to ensure that every neurodivergent and neurotypical person has affordable access to educational system that really, I guess you would say, enables them to develop their unique abilities to learn, explore, and thrive. He has over 25 years experience in enterprise software. He's led global teams, managed P&Ls of $70 million plus at startups and Fortune 100 companies. Alexander, thanks for joining me.
Jeremy, thank you very much for having me today. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here.
I'm going to start off and just tell us about Akiva and what you do. I'm going to pull up the website as you're talking.
Thank you. So Akiva is the immersive learning platform. And by that, I mean, we combine technologies such as virtual reality and artificial intelligence. And our goal as we started is to help autistic individuals, and then we extended and expanded this goal to all the neurodivergent individuals. And for those of you who don't know and haven't heard the term neurodivergent, it's typically the individuals who have autism, OCD, ADHD, dyslexia, praxia, Tourette syndrome, and few other less well-known situations. We don't really call them diseases, and the reason is because everyone is unique and have unique abilities, and that's how we're looking at it. The challenge is that the way that neurodivergent individuals learn is very different from people who don't have these special abilities, and so therefore they need more kinder way to describe the same type of cognitive and learning skills that will enable them to not only live independently, but live with dignity, which they don't right now, have a meaningful job, and become contributors to our society. And that's really what our vision and mission is at Akiva. The way we started to, about in the early 2020. And but we've been dreaming about building this company, my co-founder and I, for a while. Just technology wasn't there. And the catalyst for it was actually my son, my older son. His name is Akiva. And he's a bit of a miracle. I'll explain why. So at the age of 2.5, Akiva was diagnosed with a severe autism. The doctors at the time said, the best professionals in the field said he will never speak, he will never be independent, he'll never have friends. There were a lot of those nevers. And so, I just couldn't believe that I should succumb to this kind of diagnosis. And so we went on a journey with Akiva, and we tried different things. And as sort of a miracle, I'm going to skip all the things that we've tried.
So how old was he at the time?
2.5.
He was 2.5, and
Yes.
he was not talking, and you brought him to the doctor.
No, he was staring at one place. Sometimes he had, saliva coming from his mouth, so we were very concerned as parents. My wife was pregnant with our second boy, and of course she was terrified when she heard the diagnosis. But I'm going to skip to the rest of the story because it has a happy ending. Well, it's not an ending yet, but it's a happy continuous, if you will. And happy continuous is that Akiva is 15 right now. He is in the mainstream high school in Santa Monica, California. He's officially bilingual, and this is not something that I'm saying. It's it's the school board that gave him a diploma that he speaks English and another second language. And so he has a best friend, which is amazing. I have to tell you really quickly, they became friends in elementary school, and we had no idea during the graduation. So, the school forces kids to say a few words about like what they're grateful for. And then there's this kid that I've never seen in my life, and his name is Ethan, and he goes on stage and he goes, I'm thankful and I'm grateful for my best friend, and his name is Akiva. I tell you, I would like to think of myself as a pretty strong man who controls his emotions, but I just bursted in tears when that happened. And so, all these experiences, led me to believe that there are millions, or as we learned, it's over 1 billion people who are like my son in the world. And there are subsequently as many parents who are dealing with the same problem. And so what I realized is that there has to be a way, using my technological mind and ways to build mission critical systems for my clients in the past, which were Universal Pictures, General Electrics, Hewlett Packard. I used to work for Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz in their last startup before they became very famous venture capitalist Opsware. So I had all this experience, and I'm like, this has to be it. This has to be my mission, to build this ecosystem, technological ecosystem, so we can give access, right? So it doesn't matter where you live in the world, you need to have access. You can't drive hundreds of miles to see to see your therapist for the appointment. So that's how the idea was born, and we continue working every day meticulously, very focused on improving the product and making sure that people know about us. We're still a very tiny startup at this moment, but with a huge impact. So when people learn about us, they're like, well, how can I help? And this is great. This is amazing to be doing what I'm doing. And, like I said, my co-founder, the reason why we got together is he has a similar situation. His son's name is Aiden, and he's also autistic. But unfortunately, he didn't have the same therapist. He didn't have access to the same therapist my son had. And therefore, unfortunately, he never became verbal, right? So this is the thing, we want to help children like us. We want to help parents like us. And we have just a thing that will help.
So someone has this is a function on the Oculus Quest? Is that how they use it?
Correct. We use MetaQuest as a delivery mechanism for this immersive learning. We standardized on MetaQuest technology because Mr. Zuckerberg and Meta had invested billions of dollars into this technology and made it really amazing. Palmer Luckey, who originally created Oculus Quest, kind of opened the floodgates, if you will, for people like me to think about other computing platforms and what they can do, and the practical use cases that are helpful to individuals like my son, for example. So, we've tried multiple different platforms, but we standardize on MetaQuest, and MetaQuest 3 is the best virtual reality technology in the world. And one of the two cool things that we found, one is, when we develop our software, we did it in such a way that it's a haptic interface. So once you immerse into that world, you don't have to have any joysticks. You just observe, and you can interact with virtual objects inside with your hands and with your fingers. And this is huge for our audience because a lot of them have challenges with fine motor skills. So this is incredible. And as you can see, kids and adults love it because they can do things like tracing letters. They can play around with different objects. They can learn while they're playing. And this is what's terrific about it. And the second thing that is really amazing is that Meta was was very thoughtful about creating this technology and giving us tools to collect data on how users interact with the digital objects inside of the virtual reality. So we can record voice, we can record the position of the body, how you move hands and fingers at certain point, and that gives us a really terrific opportunity to look at this very large data set and use the power of AI. But the way we use it in two different ways, right? First of all, we're not writing new LLMs. We're not competing with ChatGPT. We're not doing any of this. But what we're doing is, number one, we're using it as a recommendation engine. And what recommendation engine is, for example, when you watch Netflix and you're done with watching a show that you like, it typically recommends you a next show. So similarly, Akiva AI recommends a new course, a next course for you to learn based on a specific baseline that the skills that you have and how you can acquire those skills faster. So it's a recommendation. And then the second way we use AI is when and this has been a dream of mine, I wanted to be able to predict certain events. And what I mean by this, back in the day when Akiva, my son, was going through these therapies, I would be in front of the several therapists, and I would go, "Listen, you are the best speech pathologist in the world. You're working with my son. You've been working. When is he going to speak? Tell me." Like, I literally was in their face every day. And like, "Mr. Landa, you have to understand, we're doing the best we can." I'm like, "Yeah, but we're in the 21st century. What do you mean you can't predict?" Okay. And so the way we built Akiva AI, because of the technology that Meta created in the kit, is that we can predict when a next father will come in and will ask, "Well, what's the chances that my kid will speak and when?" So our software will calculate that using AI models that we built and predict that, your son Akiva will speak within 2.5 years, and it's a 65% chance that he will. And this is huge for every parent like me, because, you just have this terrible thing going inside of your brain, like how my kid is going to live in this world. And the biggest thing that most parents afraid to talk about, what happens with my kid when I'm going to die. Most parents afraid to even, open up about it. I'm not afraid because, I've been through this journey. I've been through a lot, and I wouldn't change it for the world, right? But I'm here to help, not just children like my son, but also parents as well, because they need a lot of help. It's emotionally challenging. It's financially challenging. It's like, it has a big toll on your life, on your relationship with your spouse, with your family, with everyone. It's a big problem in society on national level. Several months ago, President Trump spoke about it at length, and he thankfully made it a priority and offered up hundreds of millions of dollars for research. So we're very happy to hear that message. So finally, there is an attention to the fact that, the number of children in the United States and in the world, for that matter, we're in 1 in 31 right now diagnosed as autistic. That's a 16% increase year over year. The projection is that every single 1 in 3 kids will be autistic by 2035. Think about those numbers. Right? And how much resources do you think insurance companies are paying right now? It's costing them $150,000 a year to care for an individual like that. But the problem is that the providers And some of them are great providers and they don't take insurance, right? But the providers that take insurance, they bill hourly and they never produce any results. So you can't track results until Akiva came along, Akiva.ai, because we can track results. We can connect with the payers, and payers, insurance companies can demonstrate that, look, I'm going to pay you, Mr. Provider or Miss Provider, by results. I'm going to pay you double, but show me the result.
Do most people, and I want to get to the resources piece for a second, Alexander, which is, so, we'll get to the, apps, technology, everything like that, but are there any interesting resources from like a parent perspective? There's emotional stuff. Like I remember, I'll pull this up. I had as an example, Dr. Eli Leibowitz on, who developed the SPACE, supportive parenting for anxious children emotions program. And so that was an interesting one. And we talked, parent, a guide to helping your anxious child. What are some of our, maybe, just rattle off some of your favorite resources, whether it's books in this realm for support for parents, and then we can talk about the kind of on the business front.
Right, absolutely. There are multiple frameworks. Let's say, like most research one, like when when parents first get diagnosis, they go, well, what kind of therapy will work? So everyone goes ABA, right? It's called Applied Behavioral Analytics. Problem with that is the neurodivergent community, the autistic individuals who become adults, they are revolting against ABA. And the reason is, back in the days, like, not every ABA is bad and not every ABA is good, right? But they had a bad experience when they were growing up, and they feel very compassionately that they were treated like Pavlov dogs. So, ABA therapy is the one that's being, paid for by insurance companies, right? And then there is another, it's interesting that you pulled Mr. Leibowitz. So the SPACE actually is an acronym for another methodology that we used in Akiva, and you can pull it on our website. Yes, it's a SPACE model. So the SPACE model that we use is it stands for sensory, predictability, acceptance, communication, and empathy. And this is a much more appropriate and proven model and highly researched model by therapists around the world. There are many different papers. So we've gone through a lot of it, and we're like, well, there is this ABA that everyone approves and it's paying money for, like we should do that. And then we started listening to to our community, to our to people like my son, and they said very clearly, we don't like that. We didn't like it. They forced us to do things that we are not wired to do, and there should be other things. So when we build Akiva, we build it on the SPACE principle, and that's what I would recommend.
So talk about from a business perspective, we'll get into some of your favorite books, resources, but technology. What are some of the apps, software, tools that you like to use personally, professionally?
Yeah, in the past few years, there's been just explosion of different tools, and I'm sure there probably isn't a person in the world who hasn't heard about ChatGPT. And we use different tools in our technology stack. For example, we use Canva, and we use Figma. Figma we use for prototyping, technology prototyping. It's a great tool that allows us to collaborate together. Canva we use for a lot of things. Like sometimes I even put together a presentation, an investor presentation, and so on. And I'm traveling, and I can do it on my mobile phone, and this is great, right? So this is sort of a front line tools. Again, in terms of in terms of the more hardcore development tools, so our team is using our team is using C# and .NET framework to compile for MetaQuest environment. We also use analytical tools in Azure, which is Microsoft cloud solution. And we use native tools for building iOS companion app and Android companion app. And so this is sort of our overall platform and how we developed it. But then there are lots of other things that goes around. So we decided to use Telegram for communication because it has amazing ways to communicate as a team. And, a lot of teams are using Slack and other things and so on. But we found Telegram to be incredibly beautifully designed tool.
You use this one?
Yes.
Okay.
That delivers constantly, and we use it as a as a storage, as the collaboration of ideas. It just has a lot of things. We're planning to have another smaller projects. We've been toying with doing an NFT project, but not in terms of creating something that would necessarily go heavily into the blockchain area. We just want to be exposed to crypto community, and we want to make sure that our community has an opportunity to collect digital items, and we want to use it as a vehicle to to give back to our community. So the charitable organizations that are working with autistic and neurodivergent individuals, we want to give them adequate amount of software, as much as we can donate. So in case of any of individuals who are running those organizations are listening, please reach out to me directly. We'll leave my information at the end, and we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to see how we can help, and we'd love to donate some of our software to the cause.
So we'll talk about books. I know you're really into sales, marketing, business books. Before you mention those, Alexander, I'm going to pull up, you mentioned the NFTs and crypto stuff. So I did an interview with Dmitry Buterin. He's actually the father of Vitaly Buterin, who started Ethereum. And
yes, of course.
He broke down, because this is above my pay grade here. So he broke down NFTs and blockchain for me. And there's another one, Chris Madden really talked about NFTs and kind of the metaverse and how it worked. And so that helped me
That's great.
understand it, because to me it's kind of a foreign concept. But what are some of your favorite books on the sales, marketing, business realm?
Right. So lately I've been really focusing on the books by Alex Hormozi, and he has 3 brilliant books. He recently had his latest book that broke all the records by sales. So he has the first book, I believe, is on offers, and he teaches in the book how to create the best marketing offers. The second book is on how to, yes, exactly. Second book is
100 million
how
offers
to,
we have here if you're watching the video, and we have $100 million leads also here.
Correct. The second one is $100 million leads, and then the third one that he released was about I believe that's about just how to make money. And
Here it is, $100 million money models.
Yeah, that's the latest one. I haven't. I've started reading it, but I haven't finished it yet. And the reason I haven't finished it yet is, as I mentioned to you, Jeremy, I am a voracious reader, but not always I read business books. And since I was a child, I was really into science fiction. And so what I'm going through right now is the book series called Red Rising, and this is just incredible. I think the only other book that I love so much, the Red Rising has 6 books in series. The only other series that comes close is it's kind of oldie but really good one is by Roger Zelazny, and it's called Chronicles of Amber. So they're both on Amazon, but they're brilliant books. They don't have to do a lot with business, but they actually do because they inspire your imagination. And neither one of those books has a movie about that, which I think is actually great because you can imagine those characters and you can dream about the worlds that the authors so eloquently describe.
Yeah. Any other sales and marketing books? I know you're a voracious reader that you've liked throughout the years.
Yes. I believe the book that Ben Horowitz had written, The Hard Thing About the Hard Things. I also believe the book that Peter Thiel had written, 0 to 1, that I would highly recommend for anyone who is interested or considering going into entrepreneurship. I mean, lately it's been the interesting thing about this book, The Hard Thing About the Hard Things. So I used to work for Ben many years ago, and he writes about what we did during apps for years, and he writes specifically about one of my managers, and he doesn't mention me by name, but he mentions our project in there, and like how heroism sometimes doesn't scale. And this was the famous thing that he said, like in terms of scalability, because we had a small team compared to the giants that we competed with, but everyone was a hero on a team, right? And so at some point he said, heroism doesn't scale, which was pretty interesting. But, 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel is incredible. He talks about the importance of understanding the niche market and finding a way to establish your dominance instead of just going into a highly competitive a place and compete against. There are other brilliant books, specifically on sales and marketing. But I think if we just have time for the viewers to go through these 5 books, that's going to be great.
What did you learn working with Ben? Are there any lessons that you remember?
This was the most amazing team that I was part of, bar none. And, I went through a very rigorous interviewing process. I think like they had me flown to 4 different cities. I've talked to 7 different people over 4 months period before they made the decision to make me an offer. And at that time I was a successful product manager at Universal Pictures, and I've done I've built digital asset management system that is still alive in the same reincarnation, and it's called Solar at Universal Pictures, and it's a mission critical system for them, and they haven't touched it because it was built to last. And I thought that they would never, give me an offer. But once they were ready, they went very quick, and they like, no, we want you, you come in. And so one of the things that, the 3 things that I learned is that, if you want to succeed in anything, you just have to not only show up on time, but you have to be your best, 100%, right? You can't leave things for tomorrow because tomorrow is not guaranteed, right? And then the other thing is that the world is not perfect. The software will break sometimes. The customer will be upset sometimes. But at the end of the day, right, if you give 150% of yourself to solve a business and technology problem for your customers, for your team, then more likely than not, you're going to win.
First of all, this has been fantastic, Alexander. I want to point everyone to Akiva.ai. And so, just share it, right? There's a lot of people that could really use this. So there's families, clinics, schools, nonprofits, send it their way. So, Alexander, I just want to thank you. Everyone, check out more episodes. Check out Akiva.ai.
Jeremy, thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like 100 grand.